Dear friends, English Literature, Introduction to Poetry, Home Burial by Robert Frost. Brief questions with answers. Question 1. When and where was Robert Frost born? Answer. Robert Frost was born on March 26, 1874 in San Francisco, California. Question 2. What was Robert Frost? Answer. Robert Frost was one of the greatest of the American poets. Question 3. How many times was Robert Frost awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry? Answer. Robert Frost was awarded the Pulitzer Prize 4 times for poetry. Question 4. What is Pulitzer Prize? Answer. The United States is in the United States, it is one of the 13 prizes that are given for excellent work in literature, music, and journalism. Question 5. When was he honored with the Medal of Honor from the Congress of the United States? Answer. He was honored with the Medal of Honor from the Congress of the United States at the age of 86. Question 6. Why is Frost called the poet of the Americans? Answer. Frost is called the poet of Americans because of his concern with the common man of America and his treatment of American life in his poetry. Question 7. Why is Robert Frost called a regional poet? Answer. Robert Frost is called a regional poet because he drew materials for his poetry from the region of New England. Question 8. Why is Robert Frost called a modern poet? Answer. Robert Frost is called a modern poet because he lived and worked in our own century and the problems of modern life are reflected in his poetry. Question 9. Why is Robert Frost called the American Shelley? Answer. Robert Frost is called the American Shelley because he, like Shelley, exhales birds as naturally and spontaneously as a flower exhales fragrance. Question 10. What is the form of the poem Home Burial? Answer. This poem is a dramatic in that it presents a continuous scene and employs primarily dialogue rather than narrative or description. Question 11. What is the theme of the poem Home Burial? Answer. The theme of the poem Home Burial is how grief over the death of a child should be expressed. Question 12. What is the subject matter of the poem? Answer. The subject matter of the poem is death of a first child. Question 13. What is the difference between the upbringing of the husband and the wife? Answer. The husband is a countryman and the mother is a city bred. Question 14. Why is the woman grief-stricken? Answer. The woman is grief-stricken because she has lost her first and the only child. Question 15. What is the condition of the wife at the death of her only child? Answer. The wife was hysterical at the death of her only child. Question 16. What is the condition of the husband at the death of his only child? Answer. The husband is cool and composed at the death of his only child. Actually, he has reserved his emotion of grief. Question 17. Why does the couple's expression of grief differ? Answer. Their expression of grief differs because they have different philosophies about grief. Question 18. What is the husband's opinion regarding grief? Answer. The husband's opinion is that grief should be in the mind and it should not deter us from following our routine activities of life. Question 19. What is the wife's opinion regarding grief? Answer. The wife holds the opinion that the death of a child should produce so overwhelming grief in the minds of the parents that they should be taken off only with it, forgetting their normal activities of life. Question 20. What is the complaint of the wife about her husband? The wife complains that her husband is insensitive to the tragedy of the death of their child, and on that ground she wants to leave him. Question 21. What is the center of their argument? Answer. The center of the argument is the feeling of loss at the death of their child. Question 22. What happened to the wife when her husband didn't immediately recognize the cause of her distress? Answer. The wife got more distraught when her husband didn't immediately recognize the cause of her distress. Question 23. What did she consider her husband? Answer. She considered her husband to be callous. Question 24. What was the only truth did she speak? Answer. She spoke only one kind of truth, how the living turns quickly away from the dead. Question 25. Why has the man controlled his emotion? The man has controlled his emotions, knowing that life is for the living. He has lived the past to itself. Question 26. Why did the wife resent her husband deeply? Answer. She resented him deeply for his cool composure, whereas he should be intensely grief-stricken and emotional at the death of their child. Question 27. What is the misunderstanding of the wife? Answer. The wife misunderstands her husband's controlled state as lack of emotions, but actually his grief is as real and intense as her. Question 28. Why does the wife want to leave her husband? Answer. The wife thinks that her husband is insensitive to the tragedy of the death of the child, and on that ground she wants to leave him. Question 29. What does her husband say about his wife's decision to leave him? Answer. The husband says that he must bring her back wherever she may go. Thank you, friends, for watching.